than 1,200 artists, athletes, academics have condemned what they call the injustice of sentences handed to just five Just Stop Oil activists for non-violent protests in a letter to the Attorney General. Grahame Boss, spokesperson for Just Stop Oil, with us this morning. Morning, Grahame.
Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning. And Brendan O'Neill, editor at the online political magazine Spiked. Good morning, Brendan.
Morning.
Good morning, good morning. Well, Grahame, the courts have decided that these five activists need to be jailed for 21 years. They tried they did break the law. They tried to use their own power to bring the M25 to a standstill. And the judge said they crossed the line from concerned campaigners to fanatics.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me just, can I just frame this? I'll definitely answer your question. Why does Just Stop Oil do what it does? It does it because we are in the midst of a climate breakdown, and even our government accepts that we're in an existential threat. David Attenborough, hardly an activist, has said that we face the collapse of civilization. The former chief scientist of the government, David King, said a few years ago that what we do in the next few years will determine the future of humanity. James Hansen, who's probably the most respected climate scientist, said, we've been damn fools. That's why.
And we have democratic processes to change society, and that's through your elected representatives in our democracy. Is it the law of the jungle when you go out and you decide what roads to stop, what parents to stop getting to school, what ambulances to stop getting to hospitals? Is that not the law of the jungle?
I would say no. I would say that, and in fact I would absolutely say this, that non-violent civil resistance, protest, is part of our democratic process. Many, if not all, of our rights and privileges within the democratic process have come from some kind of disruptive process. And you show me a protest that isn't disruptive, and I'll show you a protest that doesn't work.
Brendan?
I think the sentences handed down to the Just Stop Oil activists are justified. I think the right to protest is incredibly important in a free society, but what we're talking about here is not protest. We're talking about a plot to cause massive disruption to the whole country, to block motorways, to block roads, to cause extraordinary hardship in the lives of working class people primarily, who Just Stop Oil are continually interfering with, preventing them from getting to work, preventing kids from getting to school, preventing kids from getting to do their exams on time, all these things that we've seen them doing. I think people are sick and tired of seeing this country being held hostage by the apocalyptic neuroses of the upper middle classes. And that is fundamentally what Just Stop Oil represents. It represents an aristocratic disregard for ordinary people's lives on the basis of some fantasy end of the world.
Well, they're protecting ordinary people. They're protecting ordinary people, are they not?
They're not protecting anybody except their own fanatical ideology. And if you look, there have been
an oil company. And I can tell you the oil companies know that we are in a climate crisis. They know that our government has already accepted that that's the case. But I've just mentioned David Attenborough to David King. They both accepted the reality of the existential threat that we face. And yet our government
when your cult leader Roger Hallam says that billions of people will die and there will be marauding gangs going around the country raping people and killing people. This is not a scientific prediction or a scientific hypothesis. This is a Mad Max style form of hysteria. It's apocalyptic nonsense. There is nothing in the IPCC reports that say billions of people will die and civilizations will collapse. It says that climate change poses a serious challenge to humankind, but there is nothing of the order that you people promote. So you are lying.
I'm afraid that's untrue
when you tell them these stories.
I'm afraid that's entirely untrue. We're currently facing...
So billions will die.
Well, let's let him finish now. Let's let Grahame speak.
The first thing we're going to see, of course, is we are already seeing this in large parts of the world. We're seeing people dying now. If we're currently, about 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. If we get to 2, we'll see, roughly speaking, about 1 billion people, could be more, who are displaced from their homes in large parts of the world. A very significant number of those will die. And if we get to the temperatures which the government, even our government, is saying we have to prepare for +4 degrees C. +4 degrees C is what David Attenborough is describing as the collapse of civilization. And if you think the collapse of civilization isn't going to result in people dying, then I think you're living in some sort of fantasy world.
3 billion people in the world right now live in absolute poverty. Vast swathes of the world are underdeveloped. They don't have the luxuries that we have, including the luxuries that the rather middle-class activists of Just Stop Oil have. To campaign for less economic...
They're not a middle class.
To campaign for essentially for an economic downturn in a world in which people still don't have jobs, still don't have industry, still don't have development. If you want to see human suffering, let's follow the road that you want us to go down, a road of net zero, of winding back industry, winding back progress, winding back growth, and then you will see suffering on a scale that humankind has never seen before. It's your program that promises to hurt humankind, not economic growth.
I have to say, if that's your view, you don't give a damn about the global poor. The global poor suffer most.
I want them to have what you have. You don't want them to have what you have. That's the difference.
I want them to have a future. I want them to have a safe future. We need our government to sign a fossil fuel treaty and work with other nations to stop the burning of oil and gas. As long as we burn oil and gas, every day that we burn oil and gas, we are making it worse. We won't make it better. We won't make it better.
Final word to you, Brendan. Final word to you.
80% of the world's energy currently comes from fossil fuel use. If we stop that, that will mean the end of industry, the end of food production, the end of global transportation, the end of life support machines, the end of all the stuff that keeps human beings alive. It is this demand to completely end fossil fuel use with no practical alternative that will really propel humanity into a hellish
Brendan,
future.
thank you very much indeed. Grahame, thank you. That brings us to the end of the Nolan Show for this morning. We're on 5 Live across the UK tonight.